The movie opens with chaos. Soldiers desperately report strange, deadly attacks happening worldwide. In Netherlands, Colorado, the town lies in ruins, but everything above 8,000 feet is mysteriously untouched. These monsters can't survive at higher altitudes. 3 years later, survivors live in the mountains, including a boy named Hunter. One day, he sneaks below the safe zone to look at a distant settlement. On his way back, a glowing red light chases him. It's a monster. Hunter races uphill and crosses the altitude line just in time. The creature stops. It can't go further. Back home, Hunter's dad, Will, is furious. He reminds him how dangerous it was, especially with his weak lungs. Hunter needs an oxygen machine every night. Later, Will goes hunting with Kat, a friend of his late wife. They talk about how much Hunter misses having other kids around. Will reveals that the place Hunter visits is where he last saw his mom. On the way back, they see Na, a former scientist now testing homemade armor-piercing rounds. She's determined to find a way to kill the monsters. That night, Will hears Hunter's breathing machine beeping. The filters are nearly gone. He knows he has to take a risky trip to Boulder to find new ones. The next day is Hunter's birthday. Will spends time teaching him survival skills and surprises him with macaroni and cheese, his favorite. Over dinner, Hunter asks why they don't use the radio to talk to others. Will explains, keeping his son alive takes all the power they have. After dinner, the survivors go about their usual routine, signaling nearby shelters with flags. With no modern communication, this is their only way to stay connected. Later, Caddy visits Will, bringing along a couple of beers. The two sit quietly on the porch, reminiscing about the peaceful lives they once had before the world fell apart. In the background, they can see Nina still working tirelessly on her strange experiments. But that quiet night doesn't last long. Hunter suffers another terrifying respiratory attack. With no filters left for the machine, Will is forced to use their last emergency syringe to save his son. It's a wake-up call. They're out of time. Desperate, Will heads to Nina's house in the middle of the night. Their conversation is sharp, full of tension and history. Will blames Nina for Tara's death, his wife, because she convinced her to go on a dangerous supply run years ago. Tara never returned, but Nina is also the only person who has ever come back alive from a trip like that. Despite their pain, Will needs her help now. It's dark, but honest. Will pleads with her to go with him to the hospital to find new filters. Nina refuses, saying it's suicide, but Will reminds her she owes him for Tara. That hits hard. After he leaves, Nina, haunted by guilt and flashbacks of that bloody mission, begins building a magnetic compass that can detect the monsters. Her fear is deep, but so is her guilt, and eventually, she decides to help. The next morning, Will asks a local woman to watch Hunter for 5 days. At the armory, while loading up on weapons, Caddy finds him. She's angry. You were just going to leave without saying anything? Just like Tara? Will apologizes, but the truth stings. Clearly, Caddy cares for him, deeply. She grabs a gun and insists she's going too. You can't do this alone. When she learns Nina is coming as well, she's even more determined to join. Outside, Nina warns Caddy, these monsters aren't what you see from a mountaintop. They rip people apart. Bullets barely slow them. You have to shoot them in the face to even stall them. Before leaving, Will hugs Hunter and promises to return in 5 days, but Hunter's response cuts through him. That's what Mom said. Still, there's no turning back. The team sets off on a carefully planned route, avoiding areas below 8,000 feet where the monsters roam. To save time, they plan to use an old ski lift. Along the way, there's friction between Nina and Caddy. They clearly don't like each other. Will eventually snaps and knocks Nina's flask away in frustration. They spot a wrecked military convoy below, destroyed by monsters. Carefully, they descend to scavenge what they can. Nina gives her special compass to Caddy and explains, it detects monsters from half a mile away thanks to their magnetic field, which is stronger than any known creature. Will finds an underbarrel grenade launcher but doesn't know how to use it. Caddy casually takes it, attaches it to her rifle, and says, I'm from Texas. Nina replies, I'm from Louisiana, and Caddy fires back. That just means my dad taught me better. There's a flicker of humor between the tension, but danger still lies ahead. As they gear up to continue their journey, the tension finally snaps. Nina accuses Caddy of flirting with Will, the husband of her deceased friend, Tara. Caddy fires back, blaming Nina for Tara's death, saying her ambition got her killed. The argument explodes into a physical fight, raw, messy, and long overdue. Punches are thrown, old wounds surface. Eventually, they break it off, bruised and breathless. I don't like you, Nina. Never have. Caddy mutters. I don't blame you. Nina responds coldly. Moving forward, the group encounters something unexpected. A massive herd of wild horses galloping through the open fields below. It's a beautiful, haunting reminder that nature is reclaiming the earth in humanity's absence. But the peace doesn't last. Soon, they arrive at an old ski resort, their ticket to the next mountain via a forgotten lift system. Suddenly, Nina notices something. Her compass lights up. A monster is near, its magnetic signature pulsing just behind them in the woods. Caddy wants to climb to higher ground immediately, but Nina insists there's no time. Will takes Nina's side and bolts for the lift's control room. As the beast closes in, Caddy fires the grenade launcher. The explosion rocks the forest but barely slows the creature. They open fire, bullets flying, trying to buy time. Will manages to restore power. He and Nina jump onto a chairlift. Caddy, stuck below, scrambles up a support pole and leaps toward the moving lift. Her fingers barely catch the edge. Will grabs her arms and pulls. Just then, a monstrous tentacle lashes out and slams the cable. The entire lift jolts violently. The three are thrown from the chair, crashing to the ground below. Luckily, the drop isn't fatal. Battered and breathless, they sprint uphill, toward the safe altitude line. The monster stops just short, unable to follow them higher. It's over, for now. That night, they huddle inside a half-collapsed resort lodge, sharing a bottle of whiskey in silence. As the fire crackles, Nina opens up. She explains how the monsters wiped out civilization in days, so fast, no one could study them. They don't eat humans, they don't kill for food, they simply erase us, and they've never been seen sleeping. They ignore animals, hunt only humans, and they never cross above 8,000 feet. It doesn't make sense. None of it does. Will reflects on the last conversation he had with Tara before she left on the trip that took her life. He had warned her, begged her not to go with Nina. He accused Nina of chasing fame, of wanting to be the first to kill a Reaper, no matter the cost. She has no family. She doesn't understand what we have to lose, Will had said. But Tara went anyway, and never came back. The next day, the trio reaches the entrance of a dark, winding mine, their only way through the mountain. Nina stops in her tracks when she realizes what Will has led them into. Furious, she reminds him that while the mine's entrance and exit may be above the safe line, the tunnels in between could dip dangerously low, into Reaper territory. How do you even know these tunnels are straight? She demands. What if they bow beneath the line? You didn't think about that, did you? She's right. The monsters came from below, from deep underground. They can see in the dark. They can detect even the smallest trace of CO2 from human breath. Down here, they'll have every advantage. Worse, Nina's compass won't work inside the mine. Still, there's no other choice. They strap on helmets with flickering flashlights and step into the blackness. At the far end, they hit a wall, literally. The exit is sealed. No going forward, so they're forced to descend deeper into a lower tunnel, looking for another way out. The air grows thick. Every sound echoes. They pause at the edge of a dark shaft. So, we just start sprinting when we hit the bottom? Will asks. If we do that, we'll exhaust ourselves, make too much noise. Nina replies. Worse, we'll spike our CO2 output. That's what the bulb is at the end of their tentacles. A sensor. They smell us before they see us. The silence is unbearable. Finally, Will mutters, so, slow and steady? Nina takes a deep breath, her voice half a joke and half a prayer. Just give me a minute to ponder my own death. Then it hit me, just how smart these creatures really are. Deep in one of the underground corridors, we carefully covered our flashlight beams with our hands, trying to stay hidden. A faint red glow caught our eyes, and panic set in. We took off running. Caddy fired a grenade at the entrance, hoping to block it with falling debris, but the blast barely slowed the monster down. We squeezed into a narrow crawl space, switching off our flashlights and holding our breath to avoid releasing carbon dioxide. The monster's tentacle sensors probed the air, searching for us. As it got closer, Will lit a flare to distract it long enough for us to crawl deeper into the tunnel. Caddy led the way, but suddenly she ran right into another monster lurking in the shadows. Before we could react, the creature impaled her with a tentacle and dragged her away. Will and Nina were devastated but powerless. We found another ladder and climbed out of the mine to safety. After a brief moment of mourning for Caddy, we pressed on toward a ranger's house where we planned to rest for the night. Inside, Will found a package of macaroni and cheese, Hunter's favorite. He reflected quietly on how many times he had made it for his son, who always begged for it. It's crazy how something so simple can feel as addictive as morphine. By the firelight, Nina shared her latest theory. She believed the monster's scales generated an electromagnetic field, and if she could design a bullet that disrupted it, the creature might explode from the internal combustion. A bullet bonded with parasite that causes a 1,000,000-volt shock, basically a magic bullet. Will was skeptical and bitter, reminding her that his wife had died chasing that same theory. Nina insisted it wasn't magic, it was science, a hopeful guess. Morning came, and Will and Nina took the ranger's truck, speeding down to the city and hospital just beyond the safe boundary. Inside the hospital, they moved cautiously through empty hallways until they found the medical supply room, only to discover the shelves were empty. Then, hearing noises from below, they pressed onward. Finally, Will found another storage room filled with the oxygen filters they desperately needed. Nina nervously watched her compass, warning of a nearby monster closing in. The creature smashed through walls, chasing them. On the run, a tentacle suddenly burst through a wall, wrapping around Will. Nina swung a fire axe, breaking its grip. Using the fire suppression system as cover, they fled down the hall, spotting a room full of oxygen tanks. Will quickly devised a plan. He ordered Nina to run while he set an ambush. When the monster charged, he fired a precise shot into one of the tanks. The explosion blew the creature out of the building, leaving it motionless outside. Nina, who had never really left, insisted they detour to a nearby lab instead of heading straight back. "How much time did you buy?" she asked. 6 months, Will replied. "A year, then we're back here again," she said grimly. "We can't live like this forever. Sooner or later, we have to fight them." Nina was right. If they could prove the monsters could be killed, everyone trapped on those mountaintops would know it. The whole world could rise up and fight back. Will, though reluctant, agreed. As they drove off, the weight of the battle ahead settled on their shoulders. But now, there was hope. They didn't notice the monster stirring, slowly coming back to life inside the lab where Na once worked. Na seemed more confident now, carefully experimenting with chemicals, coating bullets with different materials, and testing them on pieces of monster armor. Meanwhile, Will explored the facility and stumbled upon Nina's old office. There, he found a photo of her family, something he never knew she had. When he confronted her, Na admitted she had lost her children during the monster attack because she went to work that day, even though it was her day off. The guilt haunted her deeply. She confessed, "I'm haunted by not dying with them." She compared it to what she felt about Tara's death. "I never should have encouraged her to come with me. I was overconfident. I thought I had it all figured out. I was wrong." Will listen as Na shared how she blamed herself more than anyone else could ever hate her. She admitted, "I only blame you because it's easier than blaming myself." Will reminded her, "You can't blame yourself. Neither of us can." The early experiments didn't show any results. Frustrated, Will suggested they leave, but Na insisted she would stay and keep working. She promised to catch up to him later in her car, the same car that had been sitting in the parking lot, gathering dust for 3 years. Will wanted to help, but Na urged him not to risk his life for her. "This is my responsibility," she said firmly. "Besides, Hunter needs the filters. Without them, he won't survive." Back in the lab, Nina refined her process, using a blowtorch to help the bullet coating set faster. When the compass needle stalled, signaling a monster's approach, she spotted some rechargeable batteries and decided to incorporate cobalt, a material used for powerful heat-resistant magnets. Successfully, she crafted and charged her first cobalt-coated bullet. Just then, meanwhile, Will sped toward the mountain in the ranger's truck. Suddenly, a tire blew out, causing the vehicle to skid, crash into a boulder, and flip over. Will lost consciousness. When he woke, it was evening. The growls of a nearby monster filled the air. The creature grabbed his backpack, forcing Will to run for higher ground. The monster chased him relentlessly across rugged terrain. Just as he neared safety, another monster blocked his path. Then a third joined, trapping him. Desperately, Will fired at them, knowing it was a losing battle. Suddenly, one monster collapsed and exploded in fiery fragments. At the top of the hill stood Nina, triumphant, wielding a rifle loaded with cobalt bullets. The bullets short-circuited the monster's electromagnetic fields, causing them to explode. As the smoke cleared, the remaining creatures revealed their robotic interiors. The debris showed they weren't organic, they were machines, programmed to target humans and avoid altitudes above 8,000 feet. It wasn't a living creature controlling them. Their super-advanced design hinted at extraterrestrial origins, or maybe Chinese. "Just kidding, Will." Na and Will returned to the village, where Hunter greeted his father with a tearful hug. Na raised a flag with a Jolly Roger symbol on the village flagpole, a signal to other settlements that she had discovered a way to fight back. The good news spread over the radio, and locals began crafting makeshift cobalt-coated bullets with whatever materials they could find. At the village memorial by the river, Na and Will placed a bullet inscribed with Caddy's name, honoring her sacrifice. Together, they set out to fulfill her dream, to fight back against the monsters. A volunteer squad, armed with the new weapons, descended from the mountains. The camera panned over the landscape, showing flashes of explosions in the distance as alien robots were destroyed. Humanity was finally fighting back. On this hopeful note, the film ends. And yes, I know they weren't Toyota Land Cruisers. I just wanted to see how many people would point that out in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this fight for survival, hit like and subscribe for more epic movie breakdowns. Drop your thoughts below. What would you do if monsters invaded? Stay safe, and see you in the next video.